Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our backyard. Today is my very first garden tour, and this is the end of April, and I wanted to give you all a perspective of what I see when I look out from either my patio sliding glass doors or my kitchen window. And I'm going to pan both ways, hopefully slowly, so you can get a perspective of my yard. So this is what I see when I look out from my sliding glass doors onto our little concrete patio. And I have hibiscus trees, so I've got hibiscus plants, 3 of them, a pink, yellow, and red blooming hibiscus. And I also have a cigar plant, or kufia, as large pots on this patio. Then I have a pink blooming azalea, my aloe vera plant that is finished blooming. And then I have a mix of things that I'm trying to work with or get ready. I do have a container that I have some mixed plants in. I've got the rockin' fuchsia, a yellow Bidens, a blue lobelia, and then of course the dichondra falls, which we'll see how this turns out. It's been growing pretty nicely. I've already cut some of the salvia back once. And then I'm going to try a nepeta from Proven Winners, which is cat's pajamas, to see how that goes. And so part of this, the reason I like to use this as a beginning ground, is this gets wonderful morning sun, and then it's shaded in the afternoon. So it's a good way for plants to start out. And the other thing I want to share with you is I do have a sassafras tree, and I did order this from Joyful Butterfly. It is the host plant to the spice bush swallowtail, and it came back nicely, and it's growing. You know, it's tiny, right? But it is starting to grow really nicely. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just step back and I'm going to pan from left to right. And then I'm going to kind of go on a walkabout. So this is the northern part of my garden. I have my butterfly enclosures here. I've got 2 of them. And then I have my very first garden bed that we started. Whoops. And that is what we call the north garden bed. And I'm going to take you through each one of these. There's my shade bed right there, which is growing beautifully. And as you can see, I do like to put hanging baskets in trees. I do have Swedish ivy and the Mona lavender, which is a Swedish ivy. And then as I pan, I get into more to verticalness. I do have trellises. I do like to garden vertically with vines. And I do have a lot of these vines in pots, but not all. And I'm going to go through these vines. And then I come over to the south side of our garden, which we have the trellis bed, which is back there, the tree bed. I've got a little 4x4 bed. And then on into the south bed, which I'm going to go first. So the other thing that I will share is I do have some pots here that I do like to grow a few things in. And I'm going to walk now. And I have a pot that I'm probably going to replant. And I do have some snapdragons in it. And the reason I keep the snapdragons around, because for us they are more of a winter and a spring plant, not a summer plant. But the reason I keep them around is because they are a host plant to our common buckeye butterfly. And of course I like their blooms. And then my coral porterweed. I've got a really pretty, that's just starting, a really pretty pot full of my favorite coleus, which is from Proven Winners, and it's called Sedona Sunset. And typically what I like to do is it's mowing day today, mowing and edging. So the grass is a little bit long, so I apologize for that. But I wanted to get out and do this before the intense sun hits. And so it's coming over the horizon now, and that is why it hasn't been mowed yet. It will be mowed in about an hour, but I wanted the better sunlight for this garden tour. These two are my Turk's cap, which I'm so pleased that they've started blooming. You can see they have really unique blooms, and these are butterfly and hummingbird favorites. It is a native, and I have two of these in pots, and I actually grew two from seed, which grew very nicely. I wanted to try that out, and loved that they grow from seed pretty easily. Okay, now as I continue to go into my south bed, I do have a beautiful coral honeysuckle trellis, and I have multiple coral honeysuckles. Those are for my wildlife. The birds love to go in them. The hummingbirds and bees and pollinators and butterflies just really like this native plant. And below it, I have switched out my garden phlox, which again, we have that predominantly for our winter months and early spring. And I've switched those out with some heat-loving pentas. But I do want to show you what the coral honeysuckle, it bloomed beautifully about 3 weeks ago, but it has these beautiful long tubular flowers that the hummingbirds love, and then they produce berries that the birds love. And I do have some, the birds are eating them, but I do have a couple that are nice, getting to be, and they're still here, ripe. They produce these nice little red berries that the birds love. Mockingbirds, Carolina wrens, they like eating those. I was wondering, we've got Baltimore orioles that are migrating through, and I was wondering if they haven't been eating on on my coral honeysuckle also. As I round the corner, I have a pot of yellow cestrum that is a pollinator favorite. You know, I haven't really talked a lot, I don't think at all, about the cestrum. It just is a tried and true grower for me. The flowers, it flowers a beautiful yellow cluster of flowers, and it's just, you know, does well in the heat, and it performs nicely. Okay. My husband and I have worked on the south bed, and I have got it not quite exactly where I want it, but a good part of it is finished. And so I have lots of different plants in pots. This is my strategy for this year. And the reason I have them in pots, as I have mentioned in prior videos, is because of our wet soil back here. And even though we've amended the soil, it just really stays pretty dry. I mean, excuse me, very wet. And then when there isn't any rain, the clay is it's just a real tough medium to work with. And so in pots, it is this year. So what I've done is I've arranged them to where they are going to be bloomers. And in the front, I've got a butterfly bush, a little Joe Pye weed, one of the gorgeous, you can see how much it's already grown. That is one of the hardy hibiscus that I have. And this is new for me. This is, I'm seeing how the Proven Winners Luscious Lantana will grow and produce. This is supposed to be the mounding type. I have another beautiful butterfly bush. Love the smell of this one. And then I tried something new. I am not a petunia person, really, but there's a lot of hype around the Proven Winners petunias, and so I am trying their petunia that's supposed to be the most vigorous, and it is the Supertunia Vista Bubblegum, and so we will see what that does. I have another Kufia or cigar plant, a native Salvia, one of my least favorite, but I still have it because it's blooming beautifully right now. Another butterfly bush, my Miss Molly Scarlet, a blue porterweed. And then I have pots, if you will, of my giant milkweed. And this is for my caterpillars, my monarch caterpillars. So I'm going to pan back here. I should say come back here. And this is the back south garden. And I did have to replace my plant. I did lose it in the freeze, but these are growing beautifully, as you can see. And these are my firebush, two that came back really nicely. And then I did replace one because I like this back garden to be just full of blooms of firebush. And then I have a Cape honeysuckle that will grow up the trellis here. And all of this back here blooms beautiful orange blooms, and the firebush long tubular flowers. In the corner, I have a bougainvillea that I thought would have died in the freeze, and it's come back, and so it's a beautiful pink bougainvillea. I don't really like them because of their thorns, but boy, in the winter when they bloom, oh my goodness, the butterflies, when there's not a lot of blooming plants, the butterflies do flock to that. All right, I'm going to come back out and go to the next section. This is what I see when I look out from my south bed. Couple of points to note. I do have a couple of bird feeder systems. They do have squirrel and predator baffles on them, and so squirrels cannot get up them. I do have this one set up for hummingbirds, and also I've got a suet feeder there that the birds will go to that feed on suet, like my woodpeckers. And then I do have planters that I like to have hanging baskets. When I have hummingbird season come around, this will be filled with just nectar and hummingbird feeders. And of course, that one is full of different types of birdseed. Okay, as I walk toward this way, I'm going to talk about these pots and that 4x4. This is a Mexican bird of paradise. It blooms gorgeously in the summertime. The flowers are stunning, and I can't wait to show you when it does flower. I have a couple of volunteers here, and I've just let them continue. This is a surprisingly seeded itself, another snapdragon. So interesting. Okay, as I look up, this is my purple porterweed that I've shared with you in the past. It's a beautiful and wonderful nectar plant for all pollinators, and it just blooms prolifically. As I continue to look, I have a hanging basket of portulaca, which has a unique colored flower that I enjoy. And then I have what I call my 4x4 bed. And the sole reason I created this bed was for this Rose of Sharon, or hibiscus, and it is a blue chiffon. And I've mentioned in the past, it was tiny when I got it. It's growing and it does bloom nicely. And then in here I have some annuals, some perennials or annuals that do reseed themselves. But I've got a couple of pentas. I have some wonderful Indian summer coneflowers. And I've got a coneflower back here. And then some ageratum. Okay, as I continue panning this way, I have my red porterweed. Again, porterweed is such a wonderful, wonderful pollinator. Nectar producer, I guess is the best way to say it. Okay, I'm going to come now and I'm going to kind of pan out, and this is what we call our trellis bed. I've got 5 trellises here that I put, that we train our host plant to the Gulf fritillary on. And you can see I do have some of the native cottonleaf passion vine growing along it. And on the other end in a pot, I have some incense passion vine, which will come over onto the trellis this way. And by the midsummer to end of summer, this will just be full of the passion vine, which is really pretty. Okay, so I'm going to come over, and I've got 2 passion vines in pots that I purchased after I lost all my above ground passion vine, and those are called Balati. I do see that one is flowering here. It does have a pretty flower. There's my pot of cottonleaf passion vine. Again, these are host plants to the Gulf fritillary. This pot is interesting in that it is self-seeded, and it's self-seeded with a lot of different things. I have a balloon milkweed here. It's supposed to have, and it does, but it's not growing well because these other things are in their pot. So this is kind of an experiment for me. But it does have a Turk's cap, which was originally in here. And get a little closer here. This Flamicanthus reseeded itself from this Flamicanthus. These plants are in, and I'm going to pan down because I have 5 of these. These plants are just growing gloriously, and they are in the same family as the shrimp plant. When these flower, which hopefully will be soonish, they have beautiful red tubular flowers that the hummingbirds so prefer. They are natives, and they are a host plant to another butterfly that we have called the Texas crescent. And then in here, I've got some balloon milkweed that reseeded itself. I've got just what I've planted from seed, some Mexican sunflower. I've got some Cabrera daisies, zinnia or 2 here and there. I can see a nice big monarch caterpillar on my balloon milkweed here. And this whole section I just love. It's so pretty. I don't know if you heard that chirping sound there. That was a hummingbird probably telling me to get out of the way. I'm going to back up a little bit. And you've seen me in prior videos talk about this wonderful stand of salvia that I have here. and it is growing beautifully. I have the Salvia leucantha, which is a Mexican bush sage, coming into the two salvias, the beautiful hot pink color, which is a cousin to the beautiful purple color, which is Salvia amistad, which is purple. The Salvia amante is this beautiful pink. And then I have another cigar plant, or kufia. I'm gonna come around and look at it from the other side. So this is the tree bed looking at it from the other side. And I do have a bird bath, which beautifully not only attracts birds, but it attracts all kinds of bugs. And this particular bed is wonderful for bugs, for birds, and just everything. So in here I have a mounding type of lantana, which I've talked about. Love lantana, and this will bloom all summer long and really until frost. And it's prolific of flower. It's a mounding type, and the reason it flowers is it doesn't set seed. So it doesn't sprawl out, it just has these mounding beautiful clumps. Something new for me is this Liatris. It is, I think, called gray. Oh, I'll have to look that up, and I'll put it in the description. It is native, and I'm so excited. This is new to me. I have 3 of them. And right next to it, I have Greg's Mistflower, which is also native. And this is advertised to be more like a ground cover, and it really attracts butterflies. There we go. And then around the side, I have more that I transplanted. I've got my Liatris. This particular color is red, whereas that one is more of the berry. This lantana is more the red and yellow. That one might not get enough sun. I might have to move that at some point. And then of course I have my pots that I love to plant. All right. Now as I look and pan more northward, I come to the 5 trellis sections that we plant purely Cardinal climber, which is a hybrid, and it is flowering, which just is so surprising to us because it typically doesn't flower in the spring, but it is flowering. And this will be covered, and I will include a link to one of my other videos that shows this in the late August, early September on. This will just be completely covered with this Cardinal climber. And I'm going to come around to the back. And the flower of the Cardinal climber is this trumpet-shaped red tubular flower. It is a cross between a morning glory and a cypress vine. The hummingbirds go nuts for it. Behind it I have a very narrow bed. Love the springtime when the lilies are in bloom. And this is my mystery plant. It hasn't bloomed yet. I don't know what it is. But all of this that I have showed you is full sun in the summer. And as I come out this way, all of this is full sun. Oops, my hand is focusing. And it's morning now, early. It's only a little after 7. And so you can start to see the sun coming through. Okay, now as I continue to pan along the fence, I have 2 pots that a new one that I'm so pleased with. This is the Mexican flame vine. It flowered prolifically and I deadheaded it, and it's growing beautifully, and I can't wait for it to flower again. Another pollinator magnet, and then my red mandevilla, which is flowering nicely. Okay, let me continue to pan and now come over to my shade bed. So I'm going to come over there. Love my shade bed. Love it, love it, love it. It is growing so nicely and beautifully. Love the color. I've talked about this earlier. But what I do want to talk about is my new addition, which are the shrimp plants. Shrimp plants have these beautiful bracts, I guess, which look like shrimp, hence the name. And then they flower on the underside, a really pretty flower that the hummingbirds are supposed to absolutely love. I have not seen our hummingbirds at these shrimp plants. They're just beautifully flowering at the moment. And the hummingbirds could go here. They're in the semi-shade, and so they are growing beautifully, not in the full sun, so I'm going to see how that goes. The recommendation for down here wasn't to put them in the full sun, but so far I haven't seen hummingbirds at them. That doesn't mean they aren't, I just haven't seen them. And in previous videos I've talked about my caladiums that I love to put in pots. I've got sweet potato vine that I like to put in pots. And then my coleus, and look how glorious this coleus is. It is the end of April, and it has just exploded. I do have a prior video where I have talked about all the different varieties that I have back here. I love the color, and I love the coverage. And then in the back, I have a couple of Turk's caps that I've planted from seed. And then, of course, my wonderful and very difficult to get Forsythia sage. I was super excited to see 2 new sprouts coming up because I've been trying to get this to replace one that I lost, and I haven't been able to get it yet. My favorite nursery told me that only one grower has been growing it, and he hasn't been able to get it. And then since the last time, I have a couple of new coleuses. These are probably do another video on them. These are new additions to the yard, and I just love the different colors. My white-veined Dutchman's pipe is starting to come back after it was completely eaten to the ground by my caterpillars. And as I pan over, I've got my woolly Dutchman's pipe vine also staked for caterpillars. And then as I pan completely to my north bed, this is my very first garden bed that I put in. And it is not as raised bed is not raised as much as I would like, but we have been working with the soil and it is getting better. So as I come over, I have a beautiful stand of bronze fennel, and this is for the eastern black swallowtail butterfly. It's the host plant. And down below here, my beautiful purple coneflower is coming back, and I have the whole row of these guys, and they just burst forth, and the color is just gorgeous. I have a rue plant, which is a host plant to the giant swallowtail butterfly. And then I've talked about my salvia, my bush salvia. This is a hummingbird favorite, the Rockin' Fuchsia from Proven Winners. And then I've got Mystic Spires and Little Misty. And then, of course, milkweed. And as I round out this side, I've got in pots giant milkweed, Miss Violet butterfly bush, and this one is a senna plant. This is also a host plant to the yellow butterflies, the sulfur butterflies. And finally, I'm going to talk just a little bit about what we did with our cardinal climber. So as you can see, we have cardinal climber planted, and these are not pots. This is just lawn edgings, so we don't weed whack them. So there's no bottom to this. And we do have fishing line that we have in a pattern on the fence, and they grow up nicely along the fence. It is an annual, and it will grow to where it's just a mat of cardinal climber along our fence. And of course, the pollinators and hummingbirds just love it. I'm going to come down to the other end here of my north bed. And I have a false nettle, which is a host plant to a red admiral and a question mark butterfly, another giant milkweed, and I have forgot the name of this, and I will have to look that up and put that in the comments, but this also flowers and is a pollinator attractor. And then finally, my working area. Not a most beautiful of area, but I have compost piles. I've got pots, staging area that I'm got ready to plant into the garden. And then under my tree, I also have pots of flowers that I am trying out. So this is a much longer video. I can see the sun is really starting to come out. And as I continue to pan across my yard, I'm very thankful for what I see. It brings me a lot of joy. Both my husband and I love to come out here and see what's new, what's grown. It's just exciting. So thank you for joining me on my first whole garden tour. I hope you all have a wonderful day.